Looking for a car you can count on? At AutoMasters, we offer a hand-picked selection of used and certified pre-owned vehicles priced right and ready to drive. With easy financing and expert service, AutoMasters is your trusted dealership from test drive to keys in hand. AutoMasters, driven by trust, powered by service. Visit our website at automasters06.com or stop by today. And oh yeah, tell them Sonia sent you.
She say, sports. She say, sports. She say, sports. She say, sports.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sonia, and welcome back to She Say Sports. Please welcome founder of A&A Athletic Consulting and published author with her debut book, Leading with Grace, Building Civil Sports Communities, now available on Amazon and Kindle, Alva Amaker.
Hello. Hey, hi. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm excited to be here.
We had a little technical difficulties, but we made it through.
It's your best and worst friend.
Right.
Oh, I'm fine. I'm great. I'm great. I'm in a good space, and I'm excited about this next journey and being able to make an impact.
For you. I've heard some great things from you from Monique AJ Smith. I saw she was I think she was a forward for your book. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's get into it. Speaking of your book, so Alva, well, before we start that, tell us a little bit about yourself. I did, tell the listeners that you were a founder of A&A Consulting.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that for a second.
Oh, well, I have been in athletics since I was an athlete since 8 years old, coming up to, going in college. And then I became assistant. I was student trainer, moved to assistant trainer or lead trainer for, and so you get to see all the behind the scenes stuff, right? You look at athletics in a different way when you're no longer the athlete, and you see needs differently. And so at that point, once I came out of college in 92, I started coaching in 94. And for me, sports have always been that thing that was a safe haven.
Okay.
And there was always some things that were in it. However, some of it was just a part of competition.
Yeah.
And now things have gone awry. Things weren't great always before, but where we are now has gone totally haywire. And so as an athletic director, I got into athletic administration. I still, in the coaching world, but I got into athletic administration right around 2005, 4 or 5.
Okay.
And I began, I was working as assistant athletic director in a public school system, and looking at, of course, you always think it's all about paperwork and eligibility. But then me being a safety person, because I've always had, I was always a CPR, first aid, first responder trainer, since the early 90s. So my first response has always been to help medical, that part. So I couldn't turn that side of myself off. Right. And so when I'm looking at environments and being in places, that is the first way my eyeball begins to look. Gotcha. So even at athletic administration, I could not turn that safety side off. And when then I started looking at it from the risk management side. And so everything I did became from that risk management window.
Gotcha.
And layered that with the athletic administration piece. I would oftentimes get, as an athletic director, oh, you just doing too much. You just doing too much. I said, no, this is how we're going to do it.
Right.
Here. When I started my consulting company in 2017, it began to, I got calls from a few athletic directors come and help them set up their programs, because new person coming in, new principal, they knew me. Right. But it was a matter of they didn't have a foundational structure because it might have been a new charter school,
Mhm.
and they didn't have a base. So you could pull the handbooks that they give us, from our national training agency. But if you're starting from scratch, what pieces do you pull out of all those books?
Right.
And
That's true.
so somebody
Mhm.
with boots on the ground and that they trusted. And that's kind of how I got into my consulting thing, and here we are, what 8-10 years
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
Yeah, still working it through. But
That's
based on what I've
awesome.
seen from all levels, because I do also have a youth sports organization that does, competitive travel and all that kind of stuff. And you see some ooh, interesting things in that
Mhm.
world as well, And so I was like, okay, so it's not just a high school issue; it is
Right.
culture in itself. And
Mhm.
so that's when I began to kind of travel around with some announcers doing youth sports, on safety, the safety moment on the sidelines,
Right.
or from the press box, instead of just talk about, oh, the score is 12-7, it's like, okay, this is our quick safety break. And I would give some things
Mhm.
that they might need to be doing right now as I'm watching the sidelines and seeing what's going on in the atmosphere.
Yeah. So that what you're doing is so fulfilling because it takes it from a athlete's point of view to administrator, and now we have moved to this book, and you know what I mean. It
Yeah.
just it's layered, and you went from this space to that one to now this to help other people. So you kind of told me, but I'm still going to ask the question: what inspired you to write Leading with Grace and focus specifically on building civil sports communities?
Mm. The true catalyst for it
Hmm.
is an incident that happened, um, that which is kind of the intro story in the book,
Hmm.
where one of the athletes in the school, this is when I was an assistant athletic director, one of the athletes in the school had gotten stabbed in the courtyard.
Oh wow.
And of course, being the first responder, managed it. He had to be medevaced, the whole 9 yards. It was blood everywhere, my clothes, and I had never wore that denim skirt ever after that day. That was like
Mm.
in 2008. And but
Was he still with us at that point? He didn't
he,
pass away, did
he
he?
did not pass away, but it was
Okay.
over 20 stab wounds.
Okay. Wow.
It was a really bad scene, and my issue became the fact that, because you kind of could feel the energy in the crowd,
Hmm.
or just kind of people that was kind of hanging around, we asked for security to start, not just myself, but some of the
Right.
other athletic directors in the district had asked for us to have some, security be at the game, or make an administrator be at the game.
Hmm.
They were like, it's volleyball game. You don't need nobody. You don't have no spectators. You don't have enough spectators to have security. And I say, it doesn't take but the one wrong person,
Right.
right? And that night it was the wrong person. And I really did not know over the years how that incident officially changed me. I was who I was prior
Hmm.
to,
Right.
but that put a different kind of spark. It put a different kind of look. And I guess, because you always hear the phrase, be vigilant. Be
Yes.
vigilant. It's like, every
Mhm.
time something happens, be vigilant. I used to always say, what does that look like? And so I gave it a look.
Now you
And
know what it looks like.
you know what it looks like. And I did not, and trust me, as this framework came about, this wasn't something that happened in totality. It was just
Mhm.
pieces that I knew I needed to
Right.
have. And then over the last year, it was as I'm pulling pieces, looking at notes, it all became, oh, okay, this is what it looks
That's
like.
what it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the catalyst 17 years ago, but it's been other, like you said, pieces that brought
Oh yeah,
you to this
going
point.
out in the streets and going to
Mhm.
different events, and you know traumatic things happening. And I'm like, this is not what sports is. Sports is the safe
Right.
haven. Right
Yeah.
now, to even just watch a game. I was watching the women's basketball, and every time you turn around, they was fighting.
Hmm.
Every level, a typical contact foul is becoming a brawl.
Everybody is just real tippy. And and this is my observation since COVID, since 5 years ago, everybody is like on edge with
Mhm.
everything. You can't hardly I mean, a 21-year-old got killed, I think, in Indiana 2 weeks ago because he blew his horn for somebody to move out the way and they killed him.
Yeah.
And it's just a little bit, it's just crazy. So you're right. Sports is supposed to be a safe haven, but we've seen a lot of um, violence, not just on the field or the court, but at tailgates, and
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
dying, and it's just to go to a football game to have fun, and that's crazy. So the acronym GRACE is central to your book, Alva.
Mhm.
Can you unpack what each letter stands for and how it translates in a sports environment?
Okay. The G stands for goodwill.
Hmm.
It, in the sports world, oftentimes, especially as an administrator, you move with, when you have to address something, you move with a certain level of assertiveness
Hmm.
to be able to address the issue.
Right.
However, being that, and I'm one of the individuals that have the face. So, if I'm coming and my face is already saying what's already in what I'm thinking,
Right.
you have to always think that an individual might be doing something, but you got to think that it wasn't in harm. So
Hmm.
the goodwill is to assume the best intentions of a person, but not be naive
Right.
to that. And so just understanding that it might be a reason why they're doing it, don't know that how they're doing or what they're doing is wrong. And so it's the
Hmm.
way in which you might have an approach. And that leads right to the respect part.
Right.
Not addressing people in a way that can escalate a situation, but
Hmm.
de-escalate, saving humanity. Everybody want to, if it goes wrong, people are going to try to save face. So you want to
Right.
save the dignity of someone, and even there yourself, so that you don't get out of character when trying to address a situation. The way
Right.
in which you state things and maintaining your tone at a certain
Hmm.
level. Being direct, however, maintaining a tone that we can understand each other, but not be disrespectful.
Right.
um, Accountability. The accountability part is owning what we're doing, owning the fact that everybody has a active role, from the player, the parent, the spectators, the administrators. Everybody has a role. The event host, whoever is
Hmm.
building it is, everybody has a certain level of accountability in that. Do we have all the measures in place so that when somebody walks in, you have already set the standard so they already can self-check
Hmm.
what this experience is going to be, or what the expectation is.
Right.
And then when something goes right, you can't say, oh, I wasn't aware, I didn't know. And
Right.
so I am in the process now of even getting with all because right now with so many of the ticket sales
Hmm.
being done online, we don't have that opportunity now because everybody can scan something and walk in. So our greeters don't have that chance to be able to look at somebody and greet and say, hello, have a good game, da, 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 and kind of
Right.
bring somebody down when you can see that they're a little bit agitated.
Hmm.
So now just kind of thinking like, what is that role of now? I hate to say, put their role onto a ticket agent. However, it is now one,
Hmm.
because before an event happens, people know who's coming to the game because you get
Right.
your spreadsheet. So now just looking at what ways can we be accountable and send things out there. Um, Civility, again, that goes to how we speak, how we handle a conflict,
Hmm.
managing and all the self-regulation of emotions, having some empathy for someone, because again, as you said, and since 2000, since post-COVID, everybody is heightened and it's like a chip on their shoulder,
Right.
and it's ready to be knocked off, as it's teetering or they're already moving or done fell off, and you are that last piece, or whatever is
Yeah.
happening is that last piece that drives them insane. So how do we keep emotions high in the right way? Because what oftentimes happen, because you want to have a civil environment, people think you're
Hmm.
taking that fun out of it. You're taking that fun out of it. No, it's not taking the fun out of it. It's the fact that somebody needs you to have a seat or stand to the side because they want to see their child too. They want to see their
Right.
husband or spouse or whatever, whoever's playing. Can you stand to the side and not say, no, you just stand up?
Right.
Having, some just kind of self-respect and awareness of what you're doing and how what you're doing is impacting the next person. And then when it comes to E, the excellence, what we're striving for. It's not going to be perfect, but we're going to strive to put the measures in place in order to ideally help us get there where we need to be. And
Absolutely.
that's the aspect of what grace is. Somebody initially thought when they heard grace, they thought I would talk about this, the prayer. But guess what? We need that too.
That too.
Because
You're
I
right.
swear, I will tell you like this: when that young man was in that hospital, that's all I wanted was some grace and mercy for him to live.
Absolutely.
And so to his mother and anybody else that was around that witnessed it, that's all we wanted. And so again, so when turning it around full circle, is ironically that was what came to me as we were doing it. Very interesting. Yeah.
That's and God showed him grace, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
So Alva, when you speak of civil sports communities, what does that look like in practice for athletes, coaches, parents, and administrators?
It looks and feels safe. I don't have to keep my head on a swivel. I don't have to call additional security because the game is getting close. It doesn't sound like somebody blaming, oh, you called a foul and want to blame the referees for, and everything is a bad foul against, now somebody doing something against you, administrators knowing that their event staff is prepared. We have our plan together to act. And I always wonder, and I asked, my colleague that when we were working on this young man, we were like, what if we weren't prepared? What if we didn't have our emergency action plan in place to where we could just snap right to it? So what it looks like in with civility is that all pieces are in place. All individuals know their role. It's not like, when is this game going to be over? We're acting together. We're working as a unit to keep our environment safe and protected. And everybody's talking to each other respectfully and enjoying the experience of what sports brings.
That's what's up. That's great. So Alva, in your experience, what are the biggest barriers to civility and inclusive leadership in sports today? And how does your book help address that?
Oh boy. Okay. The biggest barriers I would say are egos. Of the individuals, because, and also when, especially what happens if your team is winning, if you have a winning organization, winning solves all problems.
Yeah.
You think it solves all problems, but that undercurrent is always there. So no soon as a loss happens, then you hear it, you see it. Then the bickering starts, and the coach wasn't no good, no way. But that's the same coach that was undefeated
last week, right?
Same coach. So
I
now
hear it
he's
all
some
the time.
trash. Now he's some trash. I said, so no, that's not how that works. Old school administrators and coaches themselves just say, this is how we do it. This is what sports looks like, and just being blind to the fact, or just not even knowing that there's something wrong.
Yeah.
So when you hear of incidents where generations of athletes were hazed with broomsticks and things like that in certain programs, you didn't know that was happening in your program, whether you're the administrator or either the coach, that you allowed it. Is that okay? So one thing I would say is taking a temperature post check, culture check. I'm calling it a culture check of your program, and that includes all stakeholders. Stakeholders are the administrators that oversee it. It is the parents, it is the fans, it's the alumni, because a lot of things happen depending on what kind of program you have, based on the energy of the alumni that come back. When we was here, and if you have administrators that's trying to satisfy the alumni, you have a principal who doesn't really, you just manage athletics. As long as you got that name, you're causing me no problems. You can do what you want to do. It's so many factors in that. So knowing what everybody's expectation is, and then as the athletic administrator, you're the person in the middle to blend that and make it look like by setting a standard of what you want to happen. How do you want it to look? And so there are some research based. I none of this stuff happened without me just doing research. I didn't want it to just go off my feeling, off my experience. I'm like, what does the research also say?
Right.
Especially because right now, when we're talking about safety, we talk about civility. Lack of civility causes disorder. Disorder is a safety issue. Most people don't put them two together.
That's true.
And I don't know any other way, because at any point that someone gets starts to unravel, what the next thing is. It's going to be an incident, and an incident is a risk management issue. So that's kind of how I, with the structure and building the fact of accountability and making a team be ready and understand where their toxic points are. Then we can start to address the toxicity at its level. Those people that are what we call the people that are on board for having things to be better. How can we engage them? Because you need arms to this stuff. It's not just the athletic director, the security people. It's not just them. It is anybody that comes into that environment, and what's their role.
You said disorder breeds what?
Disorders breeds chaos.
Chaos,
and violence.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. You don't really think about that, but that is so true. So, Alva, could you share a real life example, perhaps during your consulting work, where applying grace had a tangible impact impact on a team, or program? Excuse me.
See which one. Well, I guess I could start with mine when I took a school over.
Okay.
I can start with mine because that's where you had to be able to kind of see what you had to fix. But I became the athletic director of a particular high school. One, it had 96 athletes in the whole program at the time. We had our first scrimmages and things. What the fans were used to doing is coming on to the track. At basketball games, they were used to standing right at the back of the seat of the players, and we had a really good sized buffer zone.
Right.
And I had to really no, but this is not what we're going to do. But this is what we normally used to do, AD, and I became the B word most of the time, because I'm like, if you want to stay here, we're going to have to adjust. I need you to take a seat in the stands. Or I need to go to the stands. We cannot be in the zone. So I began to put down cones. I had to tell security, this is how we need this to look. And there's one particular incident where during that time within my first 2 years, in trying to shift the culture and create a culture. That's what it was about, creating a culture. Because what you were used to was the Wild Wild West. I don't care what game it was. There's people that should not have been in the space of athletes and coaches were right there, hands reach. And I'm like, can't be. And
it is very unsafe. Yeah.
Very, very much. And I had the support of my principal, which was great. And so I end up, putting things in place gradually. And then I had to let people understand that in incidents as they occurred, and saying a lot of games, they would get really rowdy. I would have to tell them, only people I need in this gym or on this field is the 2 teams and the officials and the coaches. Everybody else can go. And so over time, by we get to like game 4 or whatever in the season, they're like, no, she ain't play, she gonna put you out, sit down. And then it became and then I started doing some comparing. Let's have a conversation. Why do you feel like you need to be in this space?
So tell me, what did they say when you asked that question to some of the fans?
To something why they feel I had to be so close to? Because they wanted to hear. One is because they had always done it. It was just bad habits. Because at youth sports level, they're everywhere.
That's true. Yeah.
And so these individuals come up with not having structure. And as I say, when you get to high school, the high school area is where we got to provide the balance
for
all of this, and kind of redirect you in what type of behaviors are acceptable behaviors. So that's why it was very important for me when I started going on the road and traveling, doing vigilant safety programming. It was simply to be able to now say, this is what it looks like here. So you can kind of get acclimated before moving up the line. And yeah, so that, and so in the, as year after year, we'll add another layer, because you can't put everything in at one time.
Right.
And so knowing what is best, how the things work, oftentimes one area that we tend to mess up in organization and management is that we always do an end of the season feedback, but that's too late. It's too late, because sometimes the people give you feedback are the people that's not even going to be here the following year. So I started instituting mid-season checkups, or either some possibly weekly, depending on which program it was. And I found that to be helpful, because now we could tweak as we go, and then have another touch base as it getting better. That kind of, how do we go? We go in the right direction, that kind of thing. And so as an administrator, you had to be willing to be transparent. You had to be willing to be, exposed.
Gotcha.
And exposed. And I think that was one of the key things with that.
I love that. That was, I like what you did. So leadership in sports often emphasizes competition, winning, and performance. How do you balance that with the values of civility, community, and character as outlined in your book? Excuse me.
Well, the balance between competition and civility is pretty much creating the standard. The standard to win, there is a process. To be civil, there is a process. And so to have a champion, how to win and lose with dignity, and be a graceful, have humility when you win or lose, is what we thrive to do. And see, and when we looking at grace, we're looking at making sure the key thing is that fair play, and you respect the calls. It's fair play. Nobody's doing nothing to you. Nobody wants to harm you. That we're disciplined. Discipline is something that has gone away, because we see a lot of chatter that comes back and forth to the coaches. Everything don't necessarily need to be explained to you in the moment. We could talk about that when we get to the locker room. We can talk about that in the next practice. But in this moment, I need you to comply. And that is just something that has to be redirected, because again, this new, I hate to say it, but the new breed athlete or new coaching styles.
I agree. Now, let me tell you this. So we all know Bobby Knight was not always
right. Yes,
throwing stairs and cutting up. But you know what? They were probably afraid. So the respect was out of fear. But coaches and the athletes were a totally different breed back then. I'm with you. I mean, I don't want them to get chairs thrown at them, but they need to understand. I don't know. Let me be quiet.
It's about, see, and that balance right there is, what does competition look like? The competition means that, boom, we're going to go into this game. I'm going to put my best game on. You're going to put your best game on, and we're going to see who's going to come out the victor at the end. As a parent, as I tell parents, don't only look at the scoreboard as far as seeing what competition looks like, because we parents are tearing their children apart for a missed free throw, for a missed volley, for a missed pass, and for a missed throw, overthrow in softball or something like that. It's like, there's no perfection in this. Did your child do something better? Are they growing in the game? Are they enjoying the process? Not whether or not that win or loss record is acceptable to you. And when you're looking only at the scoreboard, and you only looking at wins and losses, you will never find any joy in that.
That's true.
You won't find joy in that. So understanding and strengthening the people within the game, and knowing, like, how do we move through this? Parents got to understand their role. So within the book, it outlines, it's a parent section, because when my first draft of it was more administrator coach piece. Okay. And I read through it and I was like, wait a minute, that's putting a lot of pressure on us. Wait a second. I had to go back. And I had to go back, and when I went back, I added the parents in. I said,
Mhm.
who else is necessary? I said, oh, it's the organization that's hosting. So
Yeah.
so every piece is in there. Only piece I don't have in there is directly the officials piece, because that is that because they are sometimes the whipping board
Right.
of it all, you know. And
Mhm.
so the key thing is, like, if we can put some salve over that, get some dignity over that, some civility in that, in the midst of competition, because civility doesn't kill competition. People like the kid's gonna get soft. My husband is a head football coach. And so, of course, in the writing of this, in the conversations of this, I
Mhm.
had to ask him from the football mindset, because he's a football head and had some very, very hard coaches over his tenure and years of being a player to actually
Mhm.
even coaching. And so that old school mentality is
Yeah.
there. But I said, how do we shift that? I said, so in that, I said, do you find value in this? Because again, it's editing. Do you see where it could fit into the culture, not soften a player? You
Right.
know, because especially in what I call a film session. Film session for athletes is could be heartbreaking.
Mhm. Mm.
So within a team and creating a civil thing, you looking at, like, one of us be competitive, but look at this. This is where you make your error, but you don't beat them down to where they are so broken that they don't find the
Right.
fact that, this is a learning moment. This is a learning moment.
Right.
And for teammates, you don't rag on your teammate, because everybody's going to have their day. Everybody's going to be on that film one day. So you might not want to say nothing too bad. And so in teaching the boys how to not disrespect each other in the midst of film session and laugh and making somebody feel small because they made an error, it's kind of how we had a discussion on how we can embed this within the culture of
Mhm.
even the film session.
I love that. I really do, and I'm glad that, like you say, you're all everybody gonna have their day where you gonna mess up. You gonna, it happens for all
Mhm.
athletes.
Mhm.
So, and they're human. So
Yeah.
have some grace. I agree. So look, have grace, pun intended. So Alva, for coaches and athletic administrators who want to adopt your grace approach, what would you say is the first step they should take?
Um, do it. You do your stability check. You got to know where your starting point.
Mm-hmm.
You got to know where your holes are. Do a self
Right.
audit. Do a self audit. Then from there, you start putting the pieces that are doable pieces. Some pieces are not doable immediately, but what
Mm-hmm.
is something after you see your results of the civility and culture check? Okay, what can we put in play? Not
Right.
something that's gonna say, oh, on Tuesdays at 3:30 at practice, we're gonna do the civility check. No, it's something that got to be embedded into the processes of,
Right.
just like when normally you put everybody on the line, you just like get on the line at such and such time, we get ready to start. At that point, how can you now put a quick person check? How you doing today? Which was school day like? You could do that right in the midst of, and knowing that that's a part of it. It don't have to be something written all the time. It could be something that you might do just as simply as putting a little box in the locker room. If there's something that you need to talk about, drop a note in there.
Just show them you care.
Just show them. Just know that there's
That's
enough
it.
places where there's your touch points that you
Mm-hmm.
can show some love. You know, what are the start a policy and make it something it becomes across the board, not the coaches that choose to do it. And that's what
Right.
happens. That's what happens. The coaches that will choose to, I see what I can do. No, if we're going to be here, this is what we're doing, because that gives you schisms in the program, and then you get the coaches that are doing it or trying to do it, and you got the one that
Right.
doesn't. Then that becomes, well, they ain't not doing it, and now it starts to fall apart. So
Mm-hmm.
no, we don't want to have any, I hate to say it, schisms within the program,
Right.
or what we call also culture drifts. It drifts in this way, it goes this way. No, we're not going to do that. Knowing what your capacity is, being honest with that. If you're not aware of these strategies, what trauma informed um, coaching looks like, then you got to read up. You got to stay educated to
Right.
those kind of things as well. Yeah, the key thing is to do a self audit. That's the starting point, and then start from putting in the pieces that you think would be helpful. What I have in the book is what is called a 360 framework, and then it's also got some day-to-day activities. So there's something, if you want to do some day-to-day, I've tried to put some things to where you don't have to figure it out. Here's just try this for a 90-day process, but in that 90 days, be consistent in order for it to become a habit. Right? We got to stay consistent. We got to stay consistent, and then of course along the way, as people buy the book or they either go to the website, they can do a quick self-check on the website that I have, the Grace team building site. They can go to there, and there's a quick little assessment that they can do, and they get a little score.
I like
right
that.
There. Yeah, so it's so that you ain't got to wait for me. You can see it right there, and it will say these are some actionable steps. Because again, sometimes you might want to know right here, right now, before having to talk to somebody. But if you need more in-depth stuff, then that's where we could definitely connect, and they could connect with me.
And then that's something that they can work on until they get
to
speak with you or someone. Right. I totally agree. So Alva, I actually have two. I'm gonna go ahead and ask. What role do athletes themselves play in fostering civil sports communities beyond simply following rules or being good teammates?
Well, like in any school, especially environment, no matter what level it is, or even in society, athletes are looked at as role models.
That's true.
I don't, if in the school you want students where all students wear uniforms, all the athletes are wearing school uniforms properly, guess what? That becomes a part of the culture. People gonna fall in. They're gonna fall in.
That's interesting. You're right.
And so that has always been the case with the athletics. Athletics has always tended to be, even when you have good bands and things like that, the athletic department still had the edge on being able to set the tone of a school.
That's right.
The pride of the school comes from the athletic department. When other things could be going right, but that thing. So the athletes themselves got to understand that they have that role to be the upstanders, as I would say. They are the billboard. And when they understand that, somebody's always looking, because the rules are always different for athletes. The rules are different. I say you're a student athlete. Okay. You go to class, but you athletes choose to do more. So you choose to stay after school, then practice. When you want to go to college, you do have to satisfy more than just the admissions board for the school. You got admissions, you have the NCAA, you got, you got the NAIA, whatever. You got these other layers of entities to satisfy. So therefore, as they learn to lead, understand that they are more than just rule breakers or rule makers. They are the template of what student athletes and model citizens could look like, because especially when you got sports like wrestling and hockey and those things that has a certain level of aggression and those microaggressions that are expected for them to come out.
Right.
But you are well maintained, a character person. You let your character show up, and then you could turn on that athlete on and off when it's time to be that person.
Right.
Yeah.
And John Grant from ESPN, he was on my show a couple of years ago, and he made a very valid point, because you said, the athletes are the role models, and they're kind of like the nucleus of the whole school, whether people want to admit it or not, especially in universities, because what he said to me was, when you talk about a school, they only know the coach, the players. They don't know the president. They know the athletes and the AD. That's who they know. And not slighting the president or the other, the biology majors, but that's who keeps the school afloat. It's the athletes. It's the
reputation.
AD. Yeah, it's the reputation. Right, exactly. So very valid point. I have a last question. Looking ahead, what do you hope readers will take away from Leading with Grace, and how would you like to see the sports world change as a result of this work?
Ooh, my hope is that people become reflective.
Yeah.
They become self-reflective. Like, what am I doing? What am I bringing to this environment when I show up?
Right.
No matter who it is, what am I bringing for an athlete? What am I bringing to practice? Am I bringing my best self? Am I bringing my coachable self? Or I'm bringing that person that the coach gotta, turn on that rah side versus being able to really teach us,
Right.
am I someone that's a distraction for the parent? Are you truly living through your kid? Is that why you got so much animosity for the coaches and the officials and anybody that says anything contradictory to what you feel like you have the right to say because you
Right.
paid $5 or $10, $6, whatever the amount is? Understand that this is for your child is their journey.
Right.
Give them time to grow in it, to be happy in it, to be sad in it, and actually become the parent that's going to support them socially and emotionally, and not talk about the game. Put in the rule of, we're not going to talk about the sport for 24 hours. Let's talk about your feelings. How did you
I
feel?
love that.
How did you feel in the game? Not how did you play? How did you play is the physical part. How did you felt was something else.
I love that.
Yeah, so I just trying to do that so that you could build the athlete up, so you can feel like where are their mental breakdowns happening, or why are they happening? Am I putting too much pressure on you?
Yeah.
For when it comes to the companies and individuals that are hosting events, set it up for success. Have an expectation that the organizations that come and use your facility has emergency action plans. You as the facility host, you need to collect more than the check for your facility usage. Do they have access to it, the AED that's on the wall? Are there systems in place? Did y'all even communicate and have a walkthrough so everybody knows where everything is? So it's just, I would like for the environment just become a place where you could walk through it and you feel just, this is going to be a good day. You know how the sun is shining and it's the temperature is just right for a game, and the whistle blows, and there's excitement in the air without the chaos. Without the chaos. That's what I would like to see. And that the for that 2 hours that athlete is playing, or that family is using this sport as a debrief, because right now in the current culture we're in with the furloughs and all that, we need a chance to breathe.
Yeah.
So what can be that thing
Just for
without
2
adding
hours.
something else?
Right.
For 2 hours. It's 2 hours a piece.
Take a break.
Yeah, to take a break. Yeah. That's what I would like.
I love that. Alva, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
This has been a privilege, and I've learned so much. I really appreciate you coming on. But before we go, I have a game that we play, and it's called What You Know.
Good Lord.
It's easy. It's just a way for the listeners and myself to get to know the guests better. I'll ask you a few questions, and you choose the one that best fits. Okay?
Okay.
And this is easy. Who won more tennis Grand Slam titles? Was it Venus Williams or Serena Williams?
Serena.
Correct. Where will the 2028 Summer Olympics be held? Would it be in London, Los Angeles, Chicago, or Greece?
Los Angeles.
Correct. Which boxer fought Muhammad Ali and won? Was it George Foreman, Joe Frazier, Sugar Ray Leonard, or Leon Spinks?
Shoot. George Foreman.
No,
that was the Thriller of the Middle. That was Joe Frazier.
Joe Frazier, correct. Excuse me, I need some water. In motor racing, what color is the flag that they wave to indicate the winner? Is it white, red, checkered, or black?
Checkered.
Very good. Last question. In what game is love a score? Is it golf, tennis, bowling, or pickleball?
Tennis.
You have 100% score. Very good. Very good, Alva.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Tell the listeners how they can follow you on social media, as well as order your book and get in touch with you in regards to your A&A consulting.
Okay, I would say you can get in touch with me. First, I would like for you to join the civility sports community on Facebook.
Okay.
Join that community because we in there, we have conversations. We were very actively doing it at one point, but then when I got started doing the book, it kind of slowed down a little bit because I was focusing. Okay. But now that we're done, it's a lot of conversations about to happen up again.
Right.
So join the sports civility and sports community on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn and Instagram at Vigilant AD. Okay. That's how you can easily find me on LinkedIn and Instagram. And for the book in itself, you can find that on Amazon. And then it's also, you can find it at G.R.A.C.E. Team Builder. Yep. I'm trying to think. I think that's it. That Team Builder.
Okay.
And that will be, but it definitely on and all the other sites will already have the link there. And so that's Leading with Grace. The book's name is Leading with Grace, Building Civil Sports Communities. And so it's in Instagram, Amazon and Kindle.
Awesome. And guys, you can follow me on She Say Sports on Facebook, She Say Sports 23 on Instagram, and please subscribe to our YouTube page, She Say Sports. Well, that's my show for today. Until next time, this is Sonia with She Say Sports.
Bye.
Bye.
She say sports. She say sports. She say sports. She say sports.